as hundreds of people stopped by this Venezuelan restaurant in downtown Los Angeles to drop off donations for the victims of the earthquakes. Videos like this started emerging on social media.
Un equipo de 41 rescatistas de Alemania y Austria denunció que no pudo entrar a Venezuela para ayudar.
Un video que se ha hecho viral en redes sociales en el que está el ministro del Interior del régimen, Diosdado Cabello, y parece tener un tenso enfrentamiento con rescatistas de Estados Unidos que prestan sus servicios humanitarios en La Guaira.
Y dijo que los que quieran entrar tendrán que registrarse en el poliedro de Caracas.
Critiques and condemnation of the Venezuelan government's response started coming in from different directions.
The death toll is a verdict on the regime who ran our country into the ground long before it shook. Nothing there works.
Muchos, los que se encuentran hoy debajo de un escombro, eso los va a matar la espera, no un temblor, la espera.
I was hearing that Bukele, he is directing the operations of his own crew via satellite or via Zoom, while Delcy is nowhere to be found. How come the president of El Salvador is more effective than the interim president?
And headlines like these are starting to share space with headlines about a rising death toll. Earthquake shifts political ground for Venezuela leader Delcy Rodriguez. How Venezuela's earthquakes have shaken President Delcy Rodriguez. And Venezuela suffered its worst earthquake in decades. What comes next? So what does come next? The question that is starting to emerge for some is, will the earthquakes help or hinder the current regime? And what can a similar tragedy in 1999 teach us about this moment?
El año 99 y el año presente tiene cosas muy similares.
And what do both of these political experts agree would be a catastrophic mistake right now? My name is Fernando, and this story is about the hyphen between Venezuela and its future.
Ahorita estamos recibiendo las donaciones de gente que viene de Los Ángeles, de California del Sur, y quieren aportar con sus donaciones.
At this donation center outside of Full Arepas, one of Los Angeles' only Venezuelan restaurants, volunteers have been gathering every day to collect necessities for the thousands of victims of Venezuela's deadly earthquakes.
Como pueden ver, aquí tienen comida que va a durar mucho tiempo sin dañarse, comida enlatada.
I stopped by on a Sunday as car after car pulled up, full of things to donate.
Yo traje más que todo artículos para niños, pañales, fórmulas, leche, porque yo tengo una hija y también me duele.
As they collect tons of goods to be shipped to Venezuela, all that's on everyone's mind is what's the fastest we can help the greatest amount of people.
En Venezuela tenemos varias fundaciones que se van a encargar de recibir todo esto y ellos distribuirlo a donde más lo necesiten.
Edis is helping organize the aid along with Kelly, the owner of Full Arepas. Kelly hasn't heard from her own parents since the earthquakes.
So grateful, and that makes me strong because even that everything I have passing is I am, one of the victims. And all of this, the volunteers, the people that have coming for donate and everything make me strong.
Los Angeles doesn't have a massive Venezuelan population the way a city like Miami does. But still, this site was on its fourth packed day of donations.
I'm doing so overwhelmed with emotion and how we created systems out of nowhere when there were no systems in place just to make sure that our people are good. So yeah, it's been overwhelming.
Que hay demasiada gente ayudando, gente de todo tipo, gente que no tiene para dar, que todos quieren colaborar y todo el mundo está haciendo su parte desde donde puede.
As volunteers gathered, they knew the first step was collecting the aid. The second and harder step was making sure it got to where it needed to go.
Bueno, la incertidumbre está, pero en estos momentos no me quiero enfocar en eso, sino en lo que podemos crear ahorita, ¿no? Lo que estamos creando. Yo sé que ahorita las cosas en Venezuela están un poco difíciles con todo lo que es la donación, con todos los insumos y todo eso, pero yo creo en Dios, yo creo que Dios va a meter su mano y va a hacer que todo esto llegue a las personas que lo necesiten.
An already decimated healthcare system and limited resources have led to what many are calling a slow and inadequate response from the government.
Heavy machines are now involved in the operation. But for the first 2 days, it was just locals trying to do what a government should have been doing.
Many Venezuelans are calling for their government to do much more. We need heavy machinery, this woman says. The workers can't move the debris on their own.
I am here because my son is under the rubble. Like my son, there are hundreds of others trapped here. We need more support from authorities because what's being done just isn't enough. It's possible that the earthquake hasn't killed my son, but negligence will.
We're hearing other stories too. The New York Times reported that donation centers set up by the opposition party in other cities were told they could not use the words donation center on their signs because that phrase could only be used by the government's authorized drop-off sites.
I wanted to get a better sense of what was happening in La Guaira and Venezuela at large.
Ya de por sí Venezuela traía una crisis económica sostenida, de hiperinflación, de problemas con el servicio público, agua, luz, electricidad, internet, y específicamente en la zona de La Guaira.
I want to take a brief moment to tell you something. If you're still watching this video, I hope it means it's because you find my reporting helpful. Well, if you want more of it delivered to your inbox, consider subscribing to my newsletter, In The Hyphen. It gives you the latest on US Latino culture and trends every other week, and it's completely free to sign up. Okay, back to the video.
Pablo Andres Quintero is a political consultant who works mostly with the opposition. I talked to him before he left for La Guaira one morning.
La capacidad del Estado venezolano en ese sentido ha sido reducida, muy dependiente de la comunidad internacional.
In January, Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro was captured by U.S. armed forces, taking him out of the picture, but leaving his regime in power with Delcy Rodriguez at the helm. But even with this cozier relationship with the United States, the country has continued to live in what one analyst called a warlike economy, despite the country being in no armed conflict.
El venezolano le dio la espalda al Estado desde hace mucho tiempo porque siente que el Estado no soluciona nada. Siente que hay muchas carencias, hay insuficiencias, y siempre hay que recordar que Venezuela ya tiene una situación económica delicada. Entonces, un terremoto de esta magnitud empeora la situación.
So, if things are so bad right now, why are some suggesting Delcy Rodriguez could use this tragedy to strengthen the regime's grip on Venezuela?
We know the Maduro administration cut ties with many international partners. She has the opportunity to use this international leverage to her favor to attend to the people that need it most.
For that, I reached out to Tiziano Breda, a senior analyst on Latin America and the Caribbean at ACLED.
The Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Organization is an entity that's independent and impartial and tracks patterns and trends in crises around the world.
Tiziano says there is a history of politicians using crises like natural disasters to catapult their party.
The hurricanes that hit Honduras in 2021 were on one hand sort of capitalized on and politicized by the government to fuel, to channel aid through the government networks to try and sort of, gather support at the local level.
But that plan backfired.
They contributed to, on the other hand, sort of taint the image of the Nationalist Party, which had been in power for already 8 years, and led to its demise in the elections.
We actually saw something similar happen in 1999 in Venezuela, in the same state that was devastated by the earthquakes.
Anteriormente, ese estado se llamaba Vargas y en diciembre de 1999 vivió un deslave mortal que dejó entre 10,000 y 30,000 fallecidos, casi 100,000 damnificados y 30,000 evacuados, pero esas estimaciones aún presentan drásticas variaciones.
Back then, in the 90s, Venezuela could count on significant resources from oil, a very, buoyant oil industry. Chavez had just come to power and was a very charismatic leader, so I used that opportunity to sort of showcase is ideological, but also approach and also efficiency.
Here's what was also different about that time. Then President Hugo Chavez actually rejected humanitarian aid ships sent by the United States, seeing it as a violation of sovereignty. Today, it's a different story. The LC and the United States at least appear to have open lines of communication.
I think it can go in very different directions, because on one hand, the interim government of Delcy Rodriguez can capitalize on the sort of reset of diplomatic relations, this great international solidarity that is coming to the country to consolidate her position as a leader. If she did things correctly and the response of the government was effective in the country, she could consolidate and sort of clean a bit the image of Chavismo, the current she belongs to, which has been affected by several years of mismanagement, repression, so on and so forth.
But Delcy Rodriguez, as a leader, is in a very different position with the Venezuelan people than the one Hugo Chavez was in back in 1999.
Delcy Rodriguez certainly lacks that sort of charisma and also that symbolic sort of power that Chavez had at the time.
And that could make mismanagement and negligence difficult to hide.
Things seems to be going in a different direction, in the sense that the government's response seems to be ineffective, and internally there's a growing discontent about the lack of action by the military, by the institutions, and so this could build on a pre-existent growing discontent at the current government, and probably fuel some form or shape of unrest or disorder to demand a political transition.
And you may be thinking, this terrible tragedy is exactly what the opposition needs to get their leaders in power at the next election. But both Pablo Andres and Tiziano agree that politicizing this tragedy at all right now could be a grave mistake.
I think the opposition could go wrong if it moved too quickly to turn disaffection and discontent into transition demands, an acceleration of the transition.
Siento que cualquier político que en este momento no entienda o no interprete de forma correcta las emociones de la gente puede cometer un error, puede generar repudio.
As long as there are thousands of people buried either alive or dead, any opposition would be better served to sort of play a role in actually sort of helping, supporting, rather than sort of pushing for an accelerated transition.
Pablo Andres thinks the opposition needs to just focus on helping people, in part because there isn't too much it could do at an institutional level to affect change right now.
Necesita financiamiento, necesita poder político, necesita la capacidad, la legitimidad incluso para poder firmar un convenio, un contrato de ayuda humanitaria con países de la comunidad internacional.
Back in Los Angeles, the volunteers at this donation drive are already thinking about the future of their country. One of them told me she's always thinking about the future of her country.
¿Quién sabe cuándo nos vamos a recuperar? Creo que es mucho más grave de lo que todos pensamos. Y esto va a durar meses, años.
Muchos países de acá que están allá viendo cómo se está administrando el gobierno y no está haciendo el trabajo bien y no lo está haciendo correctamente. Y esto podría ser una posibilidad de que la nueva administración que pueda entrar con el favor de Dios sea un futuro mejor para nosotros los venezolanos.
But for Pablo Andres back in Venezuela, there are no winners in this.
Bueno, al contrario, yo creo que esto es una tragedia, una situación en la que nadie se beneficia, ni siquiera el mismo gobierno. Todos salen perdiendo, es una pérdida total en temas de resultados.
How do you think the aftermath of these earthquakes will affect the current Venezuelan administration? Let me know in the comments. By the way, if you are enjoying my channel, I invite you to check out another YouTube channel that I'm loving. Behind the Business with Michelle Toe is a YouTube channel and show hosted by a CNN alum and journalist. In each episode, she introduces you to the founder and the story of a business you've probably heard of. I strongly encourage you to check out the episode on Touchland, the hand sanitizer brand that developed a cult following and exceeded $100 million in sales last year.